Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Andrew.
And once again, thank you to all our generous patrons who kept us going for over 450 episodes.
Yeah, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week is Chino Lotus.
Thank you,
Uh,
Chino.
I think been a dude for almost a year now.
Hell
Thank
yeah.
you so much. Appreciate you. A great episode to be dude of the week on, I suppose, because it's the state of play, or as many people in the comments were saying, state of depression.
State of depression.
The-
I mean, look, there's some people who are still depressed, but I honestly thought this was closer to like Sony's, Empire Strikes Back moment. The Sony Strikes Back. Well, this should have been. It could have been. Could have been. Because here's the thing. I'm just gonna jump right into it. I think it was pretty good, but I don't think it was the home run they needed. They hit like a double when they needed a homer.
The positive notes up front. There is more that I am excited about than I'm letting on. Just because I think one of the things that really annoyed me is at the very end, Mark Cerny was like, "Oh, and a few things that is just for this announcement or whatever," and then they just announced one thing. They didn't do a few things. They just did a compilation.
Yeah. That was
and everything.
I mean, we're getting to that, but like, okay, so positives are that first game, Midnight Walk, looks really cool.
Astrobot first game they showed, and that is
Astrobot technically did okay. Astrobot was the first game they showed.
free
It's
DLC.
getting a cool little update. I wish it was more PlayStation specific levels, but whatever. I'll take some like ball pinching speed run levels, I guess. 10 more bots, Helldivers and Stella Blade. And then like that Midnight Walk looked really cool. It's like a claymation based game. Works on both regular and VR2. So they did the smart thing. Didn't make it VR2 only. Let it be both.
The tiniest nitpick, because I am so happy that I want more like art styles that are out of the box, not photorealistic. So I am genuinely excited for this. So I don't want to like yuck any yums here. All they showed was a guy walking down narrow pathways.
Right.
That's
So it
all
was
they
more
showed.
it was more of a visual trailer than a gameplay trailer.
Right.
To be fair, I can leverage that same exact argument at Ghost for the most part.
I mean, as long as you want to say it, because I was going to say it too.
Look, it's true, but that's all I kind of ever expected when they first announced it would just be some teaser, just like hey, graphics are good, here's part 2. It's mostly what it was, pretty much what it was in a way, but we'll get way more into that later. But anyways, Midnight Walk looked cool. Hell Is Us looked kind of intriguing.
Hell is so I made this joke before we started recording where I was all like, it has to be like an Eastern European dev. It is not. They're from Montreal. Yeah, but
the Eastern Europe of America.
I don't know if Montreal would appreciate that, but one thing I will say is like the reason I said Eastern Europe is it had like that generic Eastern European main character type feel. Everything around
the cars, the architecture, everything looked Europe
Eastern, yeah.
I totally thought the same thing, anyways. But whatever.
It does look real cool. It looks like it's going to be Soulsborne-y, possibly, but still.
Yeah, it was like hard to say if it was like going all in on that or if it was just kind of like that. Lunar collection is coming back, which a lot of old school PlayStation heads will be happy about that one. I had actually heard that this was a scrapped project a while back, so I was actually just shocked that it's real and it exists and it's actually happening.
How much of it do you think is AI upscaling?
Well, the cutscenes are all completely AI upscaled. It's funny because they're still 4:3, and I was looking at them like, oh man, this is AI smeared. This is AI upscaled 100%.
Yeah, like when you zoom in, you can see smoothing or something like that. I caught the tail end of what you were saying on your stream.
Yeah, I
Um,
definitely see it there. But it's cool. Like we're getting like too old school. Like they are cheesy as like that is the most 90 cheese ball cheese fest RPG in kind of a good way. Where it's very classic style, like the way the characters are introduced, the party dynamics are all extremely 90s anime, like in like very much so. The original dub was just the cheesiest dub you've ever heard in your life. Uh
all the scripts and stories of games that old are written around the action hook. Whatever the hook is to get you to play the game, they make
yeah.
up the story around it. And so it's always something nonsensically stupid, but you get, I mean, really locked in on it. Like how many friends do we know made their entire personality around some cheeseball bullshit that
Right.
was
God,
in an anime
I'll
RPG?
never forget because even when it was still relatively a new-ish release in North America, anyways, I remember there's like a big twist moment where like a villain gains his power moment, and you're talking like this the villain is talking to the dragon, and he's just like stop, like Galleon stop, and he's like not Galleon, my dear Quark. Magic Emperor Galleon. And I'm like,
Yes.
it's
I want
it's it's so cheesy.
I want
But in a
more of
good
that.
way. I think it's in a good way. It's like it's very endearing how overtly cheesy this game is. Um, but in a good way. Because the thing is, it's a very I guess more optimistic kind of RPG. It's not a broody RPG. It's not a edgy RPG. It's a very colorful
Yeah.
magic fantasy. It is way closer to like a Japanese hyper anime Chronicles of Narnia. Not really Chronicles of Narnia, but like maybe more Prince Caspian or or Magician's Nephew or something. Something that's it's not an isekai. I'm not trying to say someone goes somewhere. I'm just saying that like it is. The characters that inhabit their world are way more optimistic and energetic and youthful and blah blah blah. Like,
I was talking about this like literally just a few hours ago where like have you noticed every comedy that's come out in the last maybe 10 years is like it's sad and funny. It's
mm,
and like yeah, everything's post-apocalyptic, everything's brutal, everything's like dark. And so maybe the reason that there's there's just it's good that this is coming out is just like a little bit of just cheese ball positivity.
mhm.
God, it's
I
gonna be
mean,
like Brave by comparison.
yeah, I hope there's some cheats and they throw in there because this is a grindy game. It's a 90s RPG. It started life as a Sega CD RPG and then it was a Saturn in Japan and PlayStation in Japan and PlayStation out here.
No, thank you.
Um, so it's grindy. So it's grindy. It's turn based. It's all that. Ugh. But like if there's some like cheats, some speed up stuff, that'll definitely be. I mean, if you played Grandia one especially, this is way closer to like because it's the same devs. Grandia one is a overall better everything than Lunar. But Grandia was also the game they made after Lunar. Grandia was very much like them taking what they had learned from Lunar and then applying it to the PS1 Sega Saturn truly actually Sega Saturn era. So yeah,
I
if
do
if you like that era, that sort of vibe, I guess is the best way to put
so
it.
you and Al Zero
Yeah.
are gonna be real happy and that's it.
I mean, they're in him and Nico,
Dozens
like
of
people.
people will buy this.
Yeah, dozens of people buy. It's like people were excited about this. And I'm like, yeah, this is great. Lunar. Like I'm more just like I heard it was because I was just under the impression that like the company had said, "Yeah, we tried. We don't feel it's worth it." I was under the impression that it was kind of like
Dead and gone.
dead and gone. Like yeah, like it had been rejected the idea to pursue it. And hey, it's cool. It's here. Whatever. Will
Yeah,
I
I mean
buy it? Yeah, yeah, I'll buy it.
that's the one thing that I should be upfront because I think I'm much more harsh on this state of play than you are, at least this time.
The
It's
thing is,
like
I
I'm
think my
happy.
expectations were so much lower than yours. Maybe.
I guess I just had high hopes that they were going to pull something out of their hat, and they sort of did. Like the thing is, there is stuff here. Like I Soul Reaver, hell yeah, all right. Like
Yeah.
I'm happy that that exists. I'm gonna play that.
But we are again kind of talking about, hey, Lunar remaster, hey, Legacy of Kain
Right.
remaster, hey, Horizon 1 gets another remaster. It's like,
Everything, it's like 80 to 90% of this stuff felt like it was remaster city. Although we can talk about one that we both thought was a totally new IP, and then we looked it up. Arcade Chronicles is
yeah, I was like,
actually
hey, this didn't look too bad. This looked like a very medieval God of War. It looked like a really saucy game, and I'd like never heard of Arcade Chronicles. You told me right now, like right before,
it's
it's
a it's a this is a sequel.
this is a sequel, and I'm like, what? There's one before this.
So this is an online action RPG. I personally I thought it looked sort of forgettable. I forgot that it was a thing until we
Yeah,
started talking about it before.
it didn't look bad.
It doesn't look bad. It's just like it, there's no character. It's
You
one of the
know,
problems that I have with Hell Is Us. It looks cool, but like there's no character that gets me.
bro, you want to know what's even worse is when something tries to have character and it just doesn't.
That's
And the thing
totally
was,
fair.
and the thing was that really did this for me, and probably why. I mean, I forgot about Arcage, the name of it too, but I'm like, yeah, I was kind of, yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Holy crap! That Dragon Age footage did
Yes.
nothing to sell me on that game. Holy god!
That was rough. I forgot about that.
And they spent a long time on that one.
They yeah, they put a lot of time, but I wanna read something from the Arcade Chronicles, the trailer on PlayStation's YouTube. The first the first comment, uh, John Penguin the Third 13 said, apparently he says he's very happy Arcade is coming back. The original Arcade game ended in the most insane controversy ever, which made the national news. In parentheses, in real life, one of the players got so angry he took a flight from Jersey to Florida. It is always a Jersey man or a Florida man. Took a flight from Jersey to Florida and showed up at the house of another player with a hammer, and real life violence occurred. This happened in June 2024, and the original Arcade closed down. Now that Arcade is resurrected and that player is behind bars, let Arcade reign again. This dude is genuinely amped for this game that I had no idea existed, and at least two other people are also genuinely amped.
What the fuck? And
This
this
fucking game.
this happened 3 months ago. What?
Yeah. So I'm not gonna talk any shit on Arcade. Right? It's got devoted fans. That's wild. Anyway, John, thank you. Thank you for your thank you for that comment. That made it instantly made it the most notable game of the show for me. Um just happened upon it. Oh, by the way, Pal World getting sued by Nintendo, as someone pointed out, for a patent thing, not for copyright. But they're getting sued. Is coming to Sony. They're going to get that Sony bucks. I cannot think of a more generic looking Pokemon ripoff. It's like a Pokemon Minecraft.
Yeah. And by the way, I just don't check this. Yes, this is a real story that happened. This is
You didn't
what it,
trust John Penguin the third.
right. I'm just wanted to trust but verify, man.
Whatever this man says, I trust immediately. Are you kidding me? This is the internet. I
The police quote's great. This is a weird one, said Sheriff Lieber during the news conference.
he's a Florida sheriff saying this is a weird one.
Some things make you say, some things you just can't make up. There are some things that make you say, what in the world was he thinking? And there are some things that make you say, you're not going to believe this. This case makes you say all four of those.
This is one of those those live and learn situations where everybody just all they're doing is learning. Like
Police questioned King about why he attacked in with a hammer, and he simply said he is a bad person online.
yeah. Yeah, that's what the world. The thing is not only was he willing to go to jail, he put like money and time into finding this
Yes.
dude. I respect that. I do. I sort of respect that crazy. And that dude is crazy. Let's not like beat around the bush. That guy is a nut job. Even if he's right. Even if he's right and this man deserved to get beaten with a hammer, and there's a lot of people that deserve to get beaten with hammers out there. I'm
Or at
just saying.
least slapped or punched in the mouth once.
Well, look, you don't take a flight to slap a guy. Okay? If I'm going to get on a plane and get down there and buy a hammer, or worse yet, check luggage so that I can bring my own hammer, like it is because I don't care about the consequences. I don't care what step 3 is. I don't care if we ever get to profit. No. Fly down there, hit him with a hammer. That's devotion
So
to
yeah, there's a sequel to a game immediately 3 months immediately after, I guess, shutting down the old one because I don't know if this was the reason, but dang, dude,
I hope that's the reason.
hammer time.
I hope they were all like, "Oh, we will never survive this bad press. Close it down." Relaunch 3 months later. Hell yeah.
Relaunched 3 months later. Yeah, exactly.
I had no idea this game
Oh,
existed,
man.
and now it's just top of the list for me. The anger.
And it didn't look bad. I mean, granted, because I guess it's an MMO, my interest has actually vaporized at this point.
Yes.
So
Filled with strategic battles and rich storytelling.
I thought it was just like, hey, here's this God of War kind of clone, and it has a multiplayer mode. Isn't that cool? But if it's like, if the multiplayer mode is the point of it, yeah, no thanks. I don't think I'm interested in that. But again, yeah. And here's the funny thing: is I was jumping back to Dragon Age, which boy, that footage did absolutely nothing to sell me on Dragon Age. I decided to read up. Okay, so what are other people saying? Because a lot of people like Bioware games. I am not one of them. I have yet to be
I like
proven.
BioWare games.
Yeah,
For
I've
the
yet
most
to be proven of Bioware's reason for existing anymore. I don't know. I'm being overly harsh. They never grabbed me. Nothing's ever grabbed me. I think I beat Mass Effect 1 and I lost and I just got distracted during Mass Effect 2 playthrough, even though Mass Effect 2 I felt was better in every way than Mass Effect 1.
Mass Effect 2 is a genuine massive leap
Yeah,
better than
yeah.
1. I like all the Mass Effect games.
The real problem was how that so much of 2 you needed to do something in 1 to get like this quest line going in 2, which means you needed to spend time doing things with certain characters, keeping characters alive in 1. And then on the flip side of that, there was also, hey, well, there's this, you got to get to know this character or that character, or you got to like follow up this, not
Right.
even if it's directly connected via a save file, but just, hey, if you want to see this plot line or this quest line continue, if you want to see the further developments of this specific character, you just need to have played through their quest lines in the first game. The first game's boring. So
First game's not boring, but it is much slower than the second game.
So yeah, it was like, okay, well, I missed out because I actually tried to just go through the first game as fast as I could just to see two, because there apparently two was way better. But it was like, yeah, but so much of the setup of what you're supposed to do, just either from a knowledge check or just from a save file thing, you needed to do all this other stuff in one. And I'm like, you know what? Your characters ain't that interesting. Sorry.
You know what? I don't care.
Garrison Rex maybe, but otherwise,
I mean,
so
Rex is really interesting. Garrus has a cool like revenge arc type deal thing going on. What is it? Miranda's an interesting character. Um, they really wanted you to be into Jack. It seems like the most French thing to want you to be into Jack, like the rebellious lady who's angry and
oh
like
yeah, 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 yeah,
will
yeah.
only bang you on her terms type thing. Um, I don't know why but it was clear they really wanted you to be into her. Um, which I'm not against it, but it
Either
felt
way,
like she was the most focused on
I
character.
didn't want to play through a boring game to get to the good stuff. So either way, so I've not been convinced of Bioware. The Bioware magic. I've not been convinced of it yet. And This absolutely includes Kodor. I never got much into Kodor because Kodor was boring. Um,
Uh,
but let's not get in.
well,
This doesn't need to be a Bioware mudsling. I've never been into Bioware games.
the only thing I'm
And
going to shit on is that UI mid combat. Like,
yeah, so yeah. Anyways, it's again. I guess getting to my point here. I was like, okay, so what is other people saying? People who like BioWare, and everyone's just saying, boy, BioWare really doesn't know how to make a trailer. Which I don't know if I'd say BioWare. Or I would say more EA's marketing team doesn't know
mhm.
how to make a trailer. But yes, I mean the general consensus, even by people really excited for Dragon Age, was that wow, this was not a good showing for it. Well, and even more damning was like, wow, they really has still haven't found a way to show. They have nothing. No trailer has made Dragon Age Veilguard look good. They're all going off of the hands-on previews, which are glowing and positive, but they're all saying like, yeah, and I trust this because I love all the old Dragon Ages. But yeah, every time they show this game in an official capacity, it does not look good. So yeah, it's not just me. Um, and who knows? Because I mean, I remember it was a Dragon Age Inquisition won like Game of the Year at the game advertisements, and um, yeah, like people love the old Dragon Ages. Like they are respected games. I have no idea why, but
Yeah. So how many Dragon Ages are there?
this is the
Three,
fourth, I
four,
believe.
four.
Dragon Age Origins Inquisition, I think.
I bought. Um, this is slightly off topic, but it reminds me that I bought Dragon's Dogma because Dragon's Dogma 2 came out and everybody was all like, "Oh, it's amazing." And I tried to get into Dragon's Dogma. Um, and for the longest time I confused these two series.
Hmm.
I have no idea why. Um, and now I'm wondering if what the person who was trying to sell me on Dragon's Dogma, maybe I misunderstood and they were talking about dragons like Dragon Age, like uh, because they're not similar games, really. I mean,
Hmm.
there's dragons, but that's every fantasy for how many decades has had dragons in them. So now I'm just wondering if I'm the idiot and I grabbed the wrong dragon game because I do like Bioware games. And I liked Kotor and I liked Mass Effect One even. So I'm
Hmm.
wondering if maybe I should give this a try because the trailer did not sell me on it.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm not actually I'm not I don't want to be like just dump on Bioware the podcast, but I'm just saying the hands-on previews for this game have all been glowing.
Right.
Like everyone was very impressed when they went hands-on with the game at summer, Summer Games Fest and whatever, and Gamescom. So I'm like, okay, that is true. Now that is true. It's just it's interesting that even the fandom, people who are really excited for this game, are like, wow, yeah, they really don't know how to showcase this game.
Hmm.
So yeah, if anything, I feel bad for Dragon Age fans because it's like, wow, EA has no idea how to market a game that isn't. I don't even know if EA knows how to market a game. Period. I mean, do they even have to market like FIFA, World Soccer Club now, and Madden? They just it's out. Go buy it. Okay.
Yeah, what they do is loud poppy music,
Yeah.
fast cuts, punch-ins, and graphics. That's it's sort of like the generic. I tried to this is a personal aside of being on the job hunt post entertainment industry collapse. I applied for museum videographer jobs, and they're
Mm.
oh, and you have to have an extensive portfolio. And it's like, well, what fucking portfolio do you want for a social media producer? It's all, it's all like vertically shot fast punch-ins with like big block letters and whatever the favorite pop song of the time is. Like, I don't know, like I'm gonna punch in on some Michelangelo. Oh, the thing is like all those places hire trailer houses now. I don't think it's an in-house team anymore. I know, I know definitely Action Games hire trailer houses. I'm not sure if EA would like have an in-house video team. I feel like it used to be the rage to have an in-house team in like
Yeah. I can't.
2010, but then by like 2015 everyone was farming it out to
Yeah.
you know uh by like 2017, 2018, every single production company that I can think of that was like doing small commercials or stuff was like also trying to nab these
Yeah,
trailer
well,
vouchers.
BioWare's in a weird place because BioWare Austin, I guess technically, I'd have to put more on them. For the people who run the Old Republic, right? They would always go straight to Blur Studios, who
Oh,
would do
really?
those really insanely good CG cinematics for Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMO. Uh, so the problem there, though, is that like none of that is gameplay. None of that's even in-game model, right? So how do like, because I mean, people probably remember that first big CG trailer for Anthem of the guy walking through the town or whatever, and then getting in the mech or whatever. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
so yeah, we're kind of in this, and we're kind of in this age, thankfully, where people don't like this. I mean, not that I'm trying to like, oh, get rid of these CG houses or whatever, but I'm like, oh, I'm also of the opinion of like, you don't really do anything to help. If anything, for the game that wasn't there, Concord, this is the perfect example of Concord may have been the final nail in the coffin for big CG trailer house cinematics, using a big CG cinematic house to make a trailer or a cinematic or a short film for your game that in no way represents what the actual game looks or plays like.
Until you don't have more marketing managers, like half of a company these days is a marketing manager. Like how many marketing managers work at Amazon? How many marketing managers work at EA? How many marketing so on and so forth. Until you don't have that many marketing managers, I think you're still going to get big CGI, you know,
Hmm.
because in-house teams, smaller in-house teams, they don't have the resources to make big CGI,
Hmm.
behemoths, but they'll use gameplay footage because that's what they have access to. Those big like trailer houses, they get big budget, they spend money because a marketing manager, it's easier to sell the metrics of a big budget trailer than it is to be like we should hire a team in-house.
Hmm.
I don't know why that is. I would actually genuinely be interested to speak to like a CMO. Any CMOs want to come on the podcast and be like,
Yeah, I
this is
don't
how
know.
things work?
Thing is, though, is like when you look at something in particular, like say the way like Ghost did it, where they just use in-game cinematics and in-game footage. But I'm like, yeah, but that's like probably like a $200 million game or something. Apparently, the first Ghost they spent $60 million on making the first Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
So this may not even be 200. This might be like 100, 150. Anyways, but that's a big budget game. You can do that
Right.
on a big budget game. Midnight Walk can't sit there and use a bunch of in-game cinematics and crap to sell its game because it doesn't have that. It's not that kind of budget. So it's really sort of more of a problem for these mid and smaller budget games to make like, and how do you sell this game? Since you're not going to have in-house editors or whatever people. The game itself
N-
just may not really have that many cinematics. But Dragon Age, though, therein lies the sort of interesting one there, where it's like they have a lot of money at EA. They could have just done the bullshit CG trailers,
But
and
Nintendo's been selling games that don't have, they make trailers for games that don't have a lot of high-end cinematics in them, like they do it perfectly fine. You know what they
well,
do is
yeah,
they show you the gameplay, you listen to some of the music, and maybe
and
the
I,
guy
I
tells
think
you what the game's about.
yeah, and ultimately, I think that's what you should be doing. The problem is they did do that for Dragon Age. Granted, there was
They
a
they
lot
did.
of cutscene buildup before they actually fight, and then it was like then there's this long drawn out boss fight, and you did make it look interesting. So really, if anything, I would just say the problem with Dragon Age is not oh, they should have gone to all CG trailer house, they should have gone all cinematic. I would just think, no, you just need to cut this up better. You really should just be showing a lot of like gameplay, not just from one boss fight, but like a lot of different scenarios in which the combat and is
No,
going to
that's a
show
good
off
point
different things.
because they had to do a jump cut forward
Yeah.
in the boss fight to show more interesting moments.
Hmm.
I agree. Maybe they didn't, because this isn't. How long is this? This isn't like a year away, is it? I don't think it's that
It's
far
next
away.
month.
Yeah. So they should have had quite a bit more to pull from.
Yeah, like, oh no, the game's done. The game's
Yeah. I
completely finished.
I guess one of my I to say it like, I don't know, to be on their side of this argument, maybe that's just like the thing they didn't feel that ruined any surprises.
Hmm.
Maybe they were concerned that showing too much will ruin something of the surprise. I don't know. I know that that is a concern for, a lot of developers. But publishers don't care about ruining surprises. They thrive on it, right? I mean, EA especially loves to give too much away. So I don't know. I'm trying to think. Oh, other things that were actually, something that's going to get people super excited is Sonic is having a movie character. It's movie
Yeah,
shadow
so
movie
there's going to be like a level based on the movie specifically with Keanu voicing Shadow in that level.
as his character from the movie, right?
Yeah,
So
as
all of
Shadow.
his reactions, yeah, right. But like, it's not Shadow, the game Shadow. It's the movie Shadow, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's the movie character version.
yeah. So that's if if you are a Sonic fan and a Keanu fan and a Shadow fan, like I could see this like your dick's real hard right now. I my
It's a
one
good
thing
it's kind of a good idea
it is, it's a
because
good carryover. It's one of those things where it's like Keanu is an untouchable celebrity currently, like he's just kind of like beloved. And the movie has very positive reviews. Like the movie series,
yeah.
all the Sonic movies are well received. Yeah, it's all around smart. I don't think it's that exciting for me, but I'm not a huge Sonic person.
Yeah, it's
For
not
you,
exciting for me, but I'm sitting here looking at him like this is a good idea. Like
it is a good idea. Like whoever
this is a really good idea. Like the to sort of capitalize on this. This was a good idea.
yeah, they have a smart marketing person probably.
Yeah.
So, somebody argued, you know what? They have a smart marketing person that they probably already fired. Yeah, because
Yeah, oh yeah, totally. Because
like
they get laid off so many people this year.
yeah, they made all the right arguments. They argued and cried and screamed and fought and yelled for this idea nobody believed in. Then they laid that person off, and then this idea is genius, and somebody's going to take credit for that other guy's that other person's fight.
Probably.
That's how the marketing industry works. And everybody that works in marketing that listens to this, just listen to me describe this, and they're just like deep in their heart, they're like, oh, they know my pain. $1 coffee, day old, $1 day old coffee, cigarettes, and pain.
Yeah. Speaking of awkward, we know you mentioned it before too, but like I am shocked they left the Pal World segment in there.
I'm not. Pal World made a whole bunch of money. They think it's
Right,
going to
because
make
it
a
was
bunch
the
of money for them.
I mean, it is the announcement that Pal World is on PlayStation today, starting today. And PlayStation did buy the developer after they had a successful launch on Xbox and PC.
Yep.
Uh, but what an elephant in the room where it's kind of like you are currently being sued for patent infringement by Nintendo for this very game. And they're like, it's out today. Go get it. I'm like, yeah, you guys may want to go get it as fast as you can because depending on the nature of this patent infringement, it'll either get pulled or just have to go offline for a while they drastically change something.
It's sort of such bullshit that you can patent gameplay hooks. Like it's kind of bullshit that you can patent certain gameplay mechanics and stuff. Like
Yeah, and people have been calling them out because the thing is, we don't know what it is about yet. Like we don't know. We don't. People are saying it's like a Pokeball throwing and catching mechanic. Um, Here's the thing. Um, Nintendo has been a shithead when it comes to legal battles like this
forever.
forever. This goes back decades. This goes back almost 40 years.
This goes
Nint-
back 100 years because I guarantee you, back when they were selling trading cards and
oh
playing
yeah,
cards,
well,
they were still assholes.
Yeah, and as far as gaming goes, Nintendo during the NES days sued, like tried to make it illegal to rent video games. Nintendo tried to make it illegal for Game Genie to exist. And if you don't know what Game Genie is, bless your heart, you're young. That's a Game Shark, or if you're too young for that, a game, an action replay. If you're too young for that, literal cheat devices that you would
You
use on
plugged your
console.
game.
You would use on console gaming rather than going into your computer files, the INI files, whatever. But yes, they tried to make cheat devices illegal. Literally tried to do that. They did. They tried to make reselling. They wanted reselling to be illegal. So Nintendo has been against your better interests forever. And the thing is, if and this is only partially Nintendo. It's like a joint. I think it's a joint
Well,
suing
it's
thing
the
because
video game lobby, right?
well, yeah, well, I mean, it's like it's Nintendo and Pokemon Company together are suing Pal World.
Oh,
So it's not like I don't think it's strictly just the Pokemon Company. I think it's Nintendo's 'cause as a majority 30% shareholder of the owner 30% owner of the company. They're there. Yes, we are joining in on this patent infringement. So if Nintendo could patent a gameplay mechanic and then sue someone for using it, they absolutely would. And yes, it's absolutely an awful thing because Nintendo rips other people's stuff off all the time. People don't want to hear it because it's so popular and people won't think about it. Breath of the Wild took shit from Ubisoft wholesale for that game. They even admittedly talked about Skyrim being a major inspiration for many things in that game. Like they do the same thing that everyone else does. There's nothing in Breath of the Wild that they invented. Nothing.
right.
They didn't invent towers. They didn't invent like the way the map, points of interest on a map are used. They didn't invent freezing water. They didn't invent time stopping mechanics. You really want to talk about it like, oh, the whole time blocking thing in Breath of the Wild. Oh, Prince of Persia would like a word with you. They didn't invent time freezing. They didn't invent like magnet mechanics. Trespasser Valve would like a word. If you really want to go there, nothing that is in Breath of the Wild was something invented by them. They didn't invent gliding mechanics. They
I
didn't invent
can
stamina. They didn't invent fire. Burning grass. They didn't invent like cause and effect stuff like that. None of that stuff was invented by them. They didn't invent any of that. Nothing in that game is actually original. It's
I
just put
do
together well.
I do understand like if Pal World's using Pokeballs. Like,
Oh,
yeah, I
right.
mean that's
Yeah.
we know where that's from, guys.
I mean, on the flip side here too, like Power World, like they are Icarus here with some wings going right up as
Yeah,
high as they can.
derivative as fuck.
And maybe what Power World should have done, being a arc based survival game, is not use things that look so dang close to the source material they're ripping from. Like they were poking the bear for sure.
I
So
thought you were gonna make a Pokemon. They were Pokemoning the. I thought you were going that direction. To be honest with you, I really did expect it.
sorry, no dad pun for you today.
And it upsets me. I want you to know I'm more disappointed in this state of play because you didn't go with a dad pun. Um, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that jumps out at me before we talk. Oh, I mean the Alan Wake 2 Lake House thing.
What even is that?
I don't know, but it's a DLC for Alan Wake 2, and Alan Wake 2 was a good
Is it
game. So
new? Is it new DLC?
I think so. I thought so. I thought it was going to be like a sequel to Control.
That's what a lot of people were thinking.
Yeah, but it's very obviously something that connects Control more to Alan
More
Wake
kind
2.
of like Hitman in VR is a good idea. It's just a good idea, but it's still VR and it still looks wonky and weird.
I and
Love the key art of him wearing the VR helmet.
yeah, I it makes me wonder how many people have bought VR2 so far. Hitman's an interesting franchise, I guess now. I mean, how many games are there in Hitman? There's got to be like 10 games.
uh
There's a
yeah,
lot of
probably.
yeah, there's a lot of games.
Yeah, a lot.
Um,
There's a lot.
but has anyone ever bought a console for Hitman? Is my question because Hitman's
Hmm.
a cool game. It's a great game. I can. I think two of the PCs I've ever built, I play tested a Hitman to test the like hardware on it. Like it's one of those. It's one of those games that's just like you. I don't know. You like push game or systems to and stuff. You know what I mean? Like it seems like it's like CS:GO. It's a quintessential, you know, game of the early 2000s and stuff, now
Yeah.
brought this far. So, but I've never bought a system because it was going to have Hitman on it. And that feels like what they're trying to do with the VR2. You
Yeah,
know,
I think it's kind of cool that IO Interactive was able to buy its own franchise back. Like
no, yeah, that is sick.
that's pretty cool that they're able to just take authorship of their own works, which
There's
doesn't
a
happen
lot of
very much.
places I wish would do that more, because there's all sorts of dead franchises that could be fantastic
Yeah,
if they.
Croc. That happened with Croc. Argonaut. Those guys got back together, reformed their own reformed Argonaut, made it, revived it, and then they're just, hey, we get our Croc back.
Yep. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so Hitman VR2, good idea. It's not going to make me buy VR2,
Oh God,
unfortunately.
no, hell no.
Um, I would be interested to hear from people that do own VR2 if they think it's worth it. Like, or is it an Apple Pro Vision or Apple Vision Pro thing where it's just like it sits on your shelf and it looks very pretty. Uh, you're
Yeah.
very proud to own this expensive thing. Um,
Okay, so we'll be real here. I was very happy with what I saw at Monster Hunter Wilds. Um, they showed some new biomes. Look great. Look
there's like
fantastic.
flooding. There's
Yeah,
flooding effects now and stuff.
a flooded forest area. It looks great.
The problem I have with Monster Hunter anything is that it's basically the whole point of the game is to grind. So it's not going to be for me. And so every time they show something, it always looks very cool. But every time I try a Monster Hunter, 3, 4 hours in, I'm done. I'm good.
The point of the games is a social aspect, is to go kill a big thing.
And
So
that could be the thing. I don't have any fucking friends. I'm just super lonely. And that's why I don't love Monster. You can't play it in the dark and be sad. And that's why I only play sad dad games.
well, there you go. You've realized your own problem. She said, "Dad, get your dog to learn how to play it with you." I don't know.
No, every time, God, if I could teach my dog how to play video games, he'd be more obnoxious than ever. Um,
But hey,
he would
we got to
fly from New
release.
Jersey to Florida.
Oh God.
It's angry little fucker.
But it got a release date, and it is coming out in end of February, last day of February, 2025. It is early. It's early release next year. You're not gonna have to. So we're not gonna wait long for this. I'm excited, but some people are like, I am not on my piss my pants over it. I'm happy to play because I liked World, I liked Rise. I'm gonna enjoy this. And one thing I really love about Monster Hunter is that it's like the most properly done like live service style game. You get the game and it's just full of content. And then every month or so they just throw for free, they just throw a new monster in. And it's not this like, oh, you got to do this thing in a week or and it's gone. There's no FOMO. It's just the game slowly gets kind of like piecemeal updates, and then they do one big DLC expansion that you pay for that's huge usually. And then you do that for a few more months or whatever, and then it's done. Then they're just done with the game. There's no like this. They're not trying to get you to play it forever and ever. They're not trying to like bribe you to come back and you got to do this. You got to log in, daily login bonus. You got to come in here. You're going to miss this super cool costume set if you don't buy it with real world money from the store right now.
And
It's just very simple.
if you have a group of friends that plays regularly at the same pace, that really is probably my problem. Is everybody that I've played, I guess it was World, that I played Monster Hunter with was like leaps and bounds ahead of me.
Hmm.
And so like I was a weakling and we were either going after things way too strong, which meant that I mostly sat out, or it was them one-shotting everything around me basically. Um And so maybe that contributed to why I didn't find it very interesting. Um, but also when you play those games on your own, it's a slog. Like it can be
Yeah,
really
there's really there's no way to as they're built as is right now to make because people will say I play single player. I'm like, it's not a single player game. It's not designed for single player. It's the core crux of it is not single player. It just isn't a single player experience.
if you like grinding, like Bojack. Bojack kind of likes the grind. He loves Monster Hunter.
Right.
Um, Bojack was due to the week last week. I'm sure he wished that he was due to the week this week when he could have been amped about another Monster Hunter. Um, but he likes that. He likes the grind, and it just like, I mean, he played. I think he was playing the one on the DS or something like that at the time when he was talking to me about it. But it's like he likes to be able to just sit down and kill time grinding a thing out. He'll kill the same thing over and over and over again to get the, most rare version of a sword or breastplate or whatever. Um, like I genuinely, I have no problem with games like that. They just never end up for me. Every time I try to do it, it feels like I'm taking on a second job to get
Right.
this thing done. And it's not like, again, I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum. If you like that, if you genuinely like that, I'm so glad this exists. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm not upset that this was announced or that like this didn't take anything away from the state of play for me. It's just that this didn't add anything. Same as Horizon Zero Dawn remastered. I liked that game a lot. I like that game a lot. I like, Forbidden West or whatever, but like the remaster does nothing for me. There's no reason to remaster that game. Same way when The Last of Us 2 got its announced remaster. I liked The Last of Us 2 a lot. I don't give a shit about a remaster at this point. That's why I made the joke on social media where I was just like, just wait for a PS6. They're gonna remaster all this crap anyway. Like, don't you got a few years wait, then you'll be able to get all this remastered and in the highest fidelity.
Yeah, that is like the weirdest thing to think about now too, is that like anything that's like new that's coming out for PlayStation 5 is just gonna be
Remastered in 5 years.
half of the library of the PlayStation 6 or more. Like you're not buying anything now that is going to be uniquely tailored for its console. You're buying almost these like it's almost like a long form beta at this point, right? Like
It's
Horizon 1 got a patch for PS5 specifically. It got a PS5 patch. So
right.
you can play Horizon 1 at 60 frames on PS5, like at its highest settings or whatever.
And now it's got an entire remaster, which it's only going to be $10 if you already own it. Um, and I think that is the fair isn't the right word. No, fair is the right word. It is fair that they are charging you $10 for the work that they did. They apparently put in, you know,
But it's more just kind of like, why are you spending that money on remastering? And it's not even Gorilla; it was Nixis who was doing it. Their port house company. But it's just kind of like, what is the point of this?
because they think a lot of people will pay $10 to get the highest, bestest version of it. And if it does, more power to them. Like if you're willing to spend the money on a thing, and I feel like this is half the controversy about everything Sony right now. Do it. I don't think that like if you have the money for a PS5 and you want a PS5 and you spend the money on the PS5, like yeah, like I don't know. I have nothing against that. Do that.
It's just like the game is not even 10 years old.
Right. I just can't like in good conscience. I don't want to sell you this thing. And like my own enthusiasm for a game sometimes feels like I'm being a salesman for it.
Mhm.
And I don't want to, I don't want to convince you or anybody to spend their money on something that, they'll be disappointed with. Like, I don't know. I'm not a salesman. That's why I've never been a good salesman. It's just like, I'm not going to recommend you buy Horizon Zero Dawn remastered because it's already it's already good. It's already great. Just get the
It already looks really good. It already
no,
play.
if you haven't played Horizon Zero Dawn at all, if you somehow didn't get a PS4 and you have a PS5 and you really want to play it, like hell yeah, man, you're gonna have a great time with that game. Probably. I don't know. Maybe the port company's bad. I'm sorry. But like,
Nah, I think it's good.
yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn is gonna be a good time. You know, in that way, I think it's great. I don't know how what they're trying to do here is they're trying to get millions of people who bought the original game to pay $10. That's what I think they're in. They're not actually going after the people who never played the original game at all. They're trying to get the people who already played it to spend 10 more dollars. And I think the entire budget for the remaster was probably based on that being the bulk of the people that buy it.
I don't know. There's also like this weirdness to me because I just looked it on their own store right now. Like if you have
Mhm.
a PS5, you can go and you can buy complete edition, which I assume includes the DLC for
Oh yeah.
Horizon 1. It's $40.
Yeah.
You don't need I don't know what they're going to try to sell remaster for. I imagine 60 or $70. Um but you could just go buy the full game on PS4 through the PS5
And
and play
again,
it
it
at 60 frames, and
looks gorgeous. It's
it
still a
all it
gorgeous game.
already looks good. Like,
Yeah, it's still a beautiful game. I don't know. I
oh, I'm sorry. You could go and buy Horizon Zero Dawn for $20 right now. Just the original game on PS5. Like you have a PS5, you could buy Horizon for $20 right now without the DLC add-on and play it at 60 frames.
right.
Going off their own PlayStation.com.
Now, did they say if you own it on PS4, it's only a $10 upgrade, or if you already own it on PS5, it's a $10? Because if you bought it for $20 and then just upgraded for $10, it's half price for the complete edition,
They're not
the
gonna let you
remaster.
do that because you're gonna need to have the complete edition. Probably gonna tell you you need to buy the the uh the Frozen Wilds before they allow you to, because they're not gonna let you do that, because that's gonna be like, okay, so you're gonna buy the base version and then do a $10 upgrade, and that means you're getting the DLC and the upgraded version for $10. No, no, no. You're gonna need to have the complete edition for 40 upgrade. And maybe that's all they're selling remaster, or maybe remaster is only coming out for $50. I don't know. Maybe that's like the idea.
It'd be
Um,
very fun if there was a workaround they didn't see coming. I would
right.
really love that. Um, but I realize neither of us give a shit about Dynasty Warriors. Towers of Agasba, I'm blanking on. See, like there's things that we watched just a couple hours ago that I don't like. So little had a ton of character. Um, Fantasian Neo Dimension.
Yeah, it's Sakaguchi's probably last hurrah. It's almost for certain Uematsu's, the composer's, last hurrah. I think he said it was the last game he'd ever do a full soundtrack for.
Well, and the thing is like Sakaguchi coming back to do something that is clearly a passion project because he doesn't need the money.
Yeah, and
Um,
and and this was done. This was an Apple Arcade commission years ago,
oh,
and
interesting.
it's just leaving Apple jail, for those who don't know. Um,
Okay,
yeah, this is an Apple Arcade game being freed from its shackles.
that's cool as hell. And we are both Team Sakaguchi. Love Team Gooch.
Yeah,
Love that guy. Uh,
it is $50. Okay, so I just looked it up on the PlayStation blog.
oh, cool.
Um, so there's no workaround. It's just that you can buy complete edition for 40 and then pay $10 upgrade, or you can buy the full up, like the remastered, for 50. It's the same price.
Then
Or
I'm gonna walk something back. That is fair.
or you can
That
buy
is
the base version of Horizon Zero Dawn for $20. Not worry about the DLC. Maybe you don't care about the DLC. Maybe you won't even like the game. You can play it at 60 frames, and it's still going to look great on your PS5
Yeah,
regardless.
that's the workaround. Just play the original. Stellar Blade and Near Automata. That's fun stuff if you're fans of both of those things. Uh, get more of that to be butthole in your life. Dino Crisis and Legacy of Kain backwards compatible. That is, I actually thought that was pretty cool. I don't know how they run. It's just an emulator, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just emulating the PS1 version. There's nothing uniquely special about it.
So let's spend the last 10, 15 minutes of the podcast talking about Ghost. Uh, Ghost of Yote, starring Erika Ishii, which, as we've mentioned in the past, we've met a few times. She's a lovely lady. Went to a couple of her like Halloween and New Year's parties. I don't know, years and years ago now, but
Mhm.
so
No idea. We'd be just talking to like the star of the next Ghost. Well, not Ghost, no longer Tsushima, just Ghost of Yote.
yeah, super cool. It's her face and her voice, and I bet she's done all the mocap.
Oh yeah, that was probably done 2 years ago.
Yeah, she's again just like a super nice like you couldn't say enough nice things about this person. Um
So this was a big shock, kind of to me, because they basically said no to a sequel. There was a second Mongolian invasion 7 years after the first, and that second Mongolian invasion ended when their fleet anchored outside mainland Japan. A giant storm came and brewed because, legends is because they prayed to the gods, and it sunk most of their fleet and killed the second Mongolian invasion. That is where the word kamikaze comes from, the second Mongolian invasion, when this massive storm came up right before the Mongolian fleet was about to invade mainland Japan and sunk a ton of their ships. The divine wind, that's what kamikaze, kami means
yeah.
God, kaze wind. Anyways, I thought, what a perfect setup for a sequel. You've got this crazy historical, event that happened, and it had this insane sort of ending with this crazy storm. There's going to be this fucking dope thing of, you're going to like fight off all the second Mongolian invasion. The ending's going to be you going from ship to ship, and this huge storm is raging. You're going to have all these crazy water effects. Nope. They lit Sucker Punch literally said, nah. They
Oh,
said no, and we're jumping 325 plus years into the future, and we're going to Hokkaido.
yeah.
So I was actually awestruck by the sort of ballsiness of them just basically ditching their whole setup
Part
that
of
they built
me
up.
part of me thinks it's because Sucker Punch explored all they wanted to with the character.
And that's kind of what they implied in their statement they made on the PlayStation blog. Um and he said, as the director, Andrew Goldfarb, well, sorry, not director, he's the senior communications manager at Sucker Punch. Andrew Goldfarb said, we also wanted to continue to innovate to create something fresh but familiar. We looked beyond Jin Sakai's story and the island of Tsushima and shifted our focus to the idea of the ghost instead. At Sucker Punch, we love origin stories, and we wanted to explore what it could mean to have a new hero wearing a ghost mask and uncovering a new legend. This led us to Ghost of Yote, a new protagonist, a new story to unfold, and a new region of Japan to explore.
Oh
So
yeah.
they just didn't want to retread ground, and they didn't really want to like continue with Jin's story. I think it goes kind of like we said. Maybe they felt they were done.
The thing is, this is such a rare treat because calling it Ghost of Tsushima 2 probably had the executives just frothing at the mouth. They were like, we're going to sell so much because it's a sequel. That's why they love sequels. They sell themselves, as they say. Uh,
13 million, by the way, in the New York Times interview that came out today. They sold 13 million copies of the first game.
hell yeah. Hell yeah. The thing is, so ballsy time jump, but in Japan, that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot because for
Well, it
reasons
just means nobody is showing up from the last game.
right. Yeah, you're not going to see Jin Sakai as a teacher or something. Yeah.
Yeah, like no one.
Um,
We're going to the dawn of the Shogunate Edo period.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Which is it's an interesting time period. It's a really interesting like historical period if for Japan. It actually isn't that 1600, so that would have been the Portuguese would have been
1603. So it's right at the start of the first year of the Edo period.
yeah, so the Portuguese would have been in Japan at that point, right?
Right, but they're in a completely different part. So the reason they're doing it here is because there wasn't. And they talk about in the New York Times, I think, interview where Hokkaido at this point was disconnected from the rest of Japan.
Interesting.
Uh, it like they didn't have you didn't have these samurai lords that had had control over these spots of land and whatever, right? It was actually more lawless. Like
Huh.
the governing body of Japan at that time didn't control Hokkaido, so it's almost more Wild West, which probably explains the very
Spaghetti
Ennio
Western.
spaghetti western Ennio Morricone feel to the music of the trailer.
And I'm all about that. So I'm amped. You know what? Another thing I'm all about? I'm all about how colorful and vibrant it was.
Yeah, they didn't drop that, thank God.
That looked great. And actually, you know what? I will give that to the state of play. For the most part, a lot of the games were colorful and vibrant. It wasn't like drab.
Mhm.
It feels like we've had a few years of just drab, colorless. You know what I mean? Like there's been a lot of drab looking games over the last few years. And
Yeah.
this year, that seems like it's kicking up like everybody, not just Sony. Like it seems like we're getting colorful, vibrant games again. Um, I know a lot of people were super hoping for Resident Evil 9 to get announced.
I know a lot of yeah, so many people were talking about that yesterday and
Yeah,
today, and I was always under the impression like, no, absolutely not. Why would they? Because here's the thing: Monster Hunter World is Capcom's best-selling game of
ever.
all time.
Yeah,
You know what their second best-selling game of all time is?
Dino
Monster
Crisis.
Hunter Rise.
Uh,
So
should be Dino
Monster Hunter
Crisis.
World and Monster Hunter Rise are 1 and 2, your best-selling games of all time. They have their next mainline Monster Hunter game coming out now in February 28th. They have to talk about it. They're not going to sit here and talk about Resident Evil 9, which is going to be one of their other biggest games because most of the rest of the top 10 is Resident Evil games, to be fair. It's like Resident Evil
Right.
2 remake and RE7 and what and so on and so forth. So that's a big game. I don't think Capcom wants to talk about its two biggest crown jewels at the same time. It is get everyone hyper fixated on Monster Hunter Wilds because it's the sequel to their best-selling game ever. And once that's out and once that's sold all, the majority of the copies it's going to sell and it's whatever, then we talk about RE9 because RE9 is not coming out by February 28th. RE9 is going to come out God knows when, probably February 26th. So no, I don't know where the idea. I mean, I kind of do because Dust Golem said something, but shit happens. Things get delayed internally. Never was officially announced, so there's no locked stock, release date they were sticking to.
Right.
It you should have known when Monster Hunter Wilds was announced. You were not going to hear about RE9 until Wilds was out.
It's just the amount of people that were like, "Oh, I hope Chris and Leon are the main characters and Wesker comes back." I'm just like, "God damn, this is why RE is stagnant. It's why they had to do a complete reinvention for 7 because you guys are just too locked in on
Resident
having
Evil
Wesker come back."
has only benefited from killing his ass.
Yeah,
People don't want to admit that. In fact, people would argue against it. I mean, don't get me wrong, Simmons is a terrible villain, but 7 did gangbusters for them. It sold better than any game with Wesker in it because they just mixed it up. Make a whole new Texas Chainsaw style family.
yeah.
And then Lady D. Everyone, losing their mind to Lady D, right?
Hey,
And
hey, don't disparage Lady D.
uh-huh.
It's okay to admit that she was hot.
It was no, she wasn't. That was all memery.
She was hot, and her weird, gross bug
Lies,
daughters were also hot.
lies, lies, and pure memery.
Okay, I have no desire to ever eat cockroach.
R.I.P. R.I.P. to the actress who played her daughters. So
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oof. Okay, well, I guess we're ending on a downer. Jesus,
I'm just saying. Um,
we're going down on a downer. All right, so we'll end on a positive note. What was your biggest surprise?
I mean, Lunar was a big surprise just because I had heard it was gone, like it was canceled, like or just abandoned. The idea of it was abandoned. So that's kind of like the biggest surprise. And then of course Ghost of Yotei not being Tsushima 2. Like, no, we're going somewhere else in a different
Yeah.
point in time. That is like really shocking to me. The other thing, and I pointed this out, was that if you look at their official trailer they put up, it says captured on a PS5 copyright. So that wasn't even a PS5 Pro. Everything they showed was not a PS5 Pro, which I think further solidified to me how worthless the PS5 Pro is. Because they even drug Mark Cerny's, disturbing, creepy vibe ass back out. He's like, we're going to show you some games we haven't talked about yet with some we have talked about.
And then he showed one game, one
But
new
it's like,
game.
but it was like all of those games were old. They were all old. It was
Yeah.
like, here's GT7 and RE4 and this. None of those are new games. Like they didn't have one game. Not one game in this direct was used as a launching point for their new system, as a selling point. It was, there's some old games that you've bought and they're going to look and run really well. I'm like,
Your Mark Cerny impression is gonna be nightmare fuel. Like,
I
you're
mean, look, again, I've said it before. I said that the man is a genius level programmer engineer. He really is. Like, he was doing the shit he was doing on Master System and Genesis is like genius levels of programming. Holy God, don't put him in front of a camera.
just your impression of his voice is gonna become like an earworm for me, and I'm like,
Either way, I'm
the
just saying, like,
shivers just went.
I've never seen a more botched sell for a console ever. Granted,
Well,
it's just an upgrade console, but like they didn't even come in with the state of play and say like, here's all these games are going to be PS5 Pro enhanced. There was no tagline for enhanced PS5 Pro, captured on PS5 Pro enhanced version. Nothing sitting there. I can't believe they didn't do that with Ghost of Yotei. It's like, yeah, this footage is captured on PS5 Pro. It's been running on enhanced. It's using Pisser and it's using extra Uber ray tracing and nothing.
it makes me think that that like most of this presentation was done before they had decided whether or not they were actually going to launch the PS5 Pro yet.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Now, granted, I mean they had already manufactured them, so they were definitely going to launch them. But I wonder if maybe they were going to hold off for a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. They
That's
put
pure
up a
speculation, but
they put up a blog on or like, we got all these developer quotes. So they got like super developer quotes. The best one is from Shift Up, who made Stellar Blade, right? So this is on their PS blog. With PS5 Pro, players will be able to enjoy Stellar Blade in 4K resolution at 50 frames or more with smoother gameplay. You'll notice an improvement in grain and detail in the game in the Pisser upscale mode. We can't even hit 60.
those are all true things, and I want all the detail and as little grain as possible for the 2B costume. That's what I that's what I want.
Like, I'm just like, okay, sorry, what? Like, you're not even promising 60 with your PS5 Pro upgrade to it. I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I think they were unprepared for the PS5 Pro. I don't think it makes me wonder how many actual dev kits for the PS5 Pro are out there.
Hmm.
You know, I do you think were there dev kits for the PS4 Pro, or
Yeah.
was it just the PS4 dev kit and then the Pro had
Hmm.
specs? Because I wonder, why would you have two separate dev kits when the thing that they're developing has to be able to run on a PS5 anyway?
That's a really good point. But yeah, I believe, I am under the impression that yes, there was and is different dev kits for both systems,
Hmm.
which is all that is just more work, more work for the developer.
Yeah, I mean, again, if if they do actually get something out of the PS5 Pro, granted they didn't update the CPU, so that's a bottleneck. Like, there's just a if you don't have a PS5 yet and you're like, fuck it, I want to spend $800, I don't think you're going to be mad about having a PS5 Pro versus a PS5. I make the joke that you could skip the PS5 generation because it's been sort of a nothing generation, considering how many titles
Yeah.
have been on the PS4 and how many titles are definitely going to get remastered or remade for PS6.
Yeah, when you really thought experiment that, right? Where it's like, okay, let's imagine you didn't upgrade to a PS5. You stuck with the Pro or just a vanilla PS4. You were able to play Horizon 2. You were able to play God of War Ragnarok. You know, there was a chunk of games you couldn't, but like when it comes to like big PlayStation sequels and games, you couldn't play Spider-Man 2. You won't be able to play Ghost of Yote. And I guess, and then like it trails off into these other. Okay, well, you're not able to play Rebirth, whatever. But like, if you at any point in the last 10 years decided to invest in a PC gaming setup, right? The only thing you haven't been able to play on PS5 is Spider-Man 2. And it's a matter of time before that hits PC. Because when you start thinking
Yeah,
about like, okay, well, Helldivers 2 is on PC and Rise of the Ronin Stellar Blade will be on PC, Rebirth will be on PC. They're all will be on PC. Granted, you could argue about PC costs more, PC costs more. I'm like, if you just were just like, I don't have the money or time to upgrade to a PS5, and there's a lot of people who are like that, and they just stuck with the PS4 4 Pro. You've only really been missing out the last 2 years. So you could just wait another 2 to 3 years and just get a PS6
right.
and then
Yeah,
just
that's
play those games. And then you just have all, and then again, PS6 is going to be half of it's just going to be PS5 remasters.
yeah, I don't know. Part of me doesn't like it's not Sony's fault necessarily that PS5 launched during a weird time. But they also, because it launched during a weird time, I think they panicked and put more things on 4. Like they put more things on
Yeah.
PS4.
Oh yeah. They're on it. Some of them were open about it where it's just kind of like, yeah,
Right.
like
So they sort of murdered the PS5 in the cradle in a lot of ways. Like I don't know. It's I think if we really like made solid arguments, if we thought about it, we could devote an entire episode on, if this console generation has been worth it at all. Like, I don't know. You could
the
you
answer
could have
is no. The answer is
kind
like
of right. Like
if you
it,
really wanted, if you wanted to be smart about this, you would have started saving up for PC after PS4 and just got a gaming rig PC and just you would have been fine completely.
the thing is I think consoles are still the better experience for gaming. I enjoy playing games on console more than on PC. So I'm in the middle here where I'm like I have a PC, but like I didn't build this PC specifically for gaming. I built it for doing post production, and it also happens to be good for gaming. So I'm happy with that. But like, I like playing games on console more.
Hmm. It is easier. It's easier and more just
It's
overall
easier.
more
You're sitting on your
convenient.
couch, you're watching TV. You got your big TV. I don't know. I like the experience of console gaming. I don't think PC is going to replace console gaming.
No, but I feel like the returns are so diminished now that it's kind of gotten to this point of like, man, when you got a PS2, it was a massive leap.
Huge leap. Yeah.
PS3 was kind of a big leap too. PS4 not as much, but it was a leap for sure. PS5 has just kind of been like, I guess.
Yeah, I don't and it makes me wonder unless there's some huge breakthrough in computer technology generally, I don't think PS6 is going to be necessarily a massive leap. But I would love to be proven wrong about that.
Oh no, PS6
Um
will definitely not be any sort of leap.
I do think one positive of all this is that they're going to have to get more creative about the games that they start releasing because franchises, as we've said last episode and many times before, they're getting tired to the point where you can't guarantee sales just by a recognizable IP anymore right now. And I think that that is a positive. We're going to see more interesting ideas like a claymation game, right? That's whether that game ends up being good or not. I have to applaud how creative it is to just like, when's the last time you saw a claymation game? Wasn't it Clay Fighters?
You're right.
Clay Fighters, the best fighting game ever made. But I'm gonna leave you.
That game is not great.
I'm gonna leave you with that. No. Everybody, Google Clay Fighters and watch several hours of footage on YouTube, and you'll see that it is the greatest fighting game ever made. Um, on that note, I'll leave it on the positive note about the greatest fighting game ever made. Do you have any last point before I thank some producers?
I'm just happy to see Ghost is finally back. I've just been waiting for so long, it feels like.
Yeah, when did
Um,
Ghost of Tsushima come out?
2020,
2020, right?
which was like, which again, I know games take a long time to make. I do, I get it.
Yeah.
Um, but it was more just sort of frustrating to see that within 4 to 5 years, Horizon got its sequel out, finished, and its DLC, and God of War did. And I was just like, all I'm asking for is just a sort of teaser, an acknowledgement. I just give me something to like,
Give me what I want.
give me what I want. Well, let me know they're actually working on this. It's like, I mean, we knew they were, but it's like, come on, like waiting, man. And then it finally okay. Because again, I was never expecting Ghost of Tsushima 2 to be out this year. Um, but I was expecting a teaser at some point. I waited till September, but I'm okay. And again, I'm actually kind of shocked and amazed that it's not Tsushima 2. We're going to Hokkaido. We're going Ghost of Yote.
Maybe
So
they have juice. They were able to argue against it because I bet you anything there was a lot of pressure to make it Ghost of Tsushima 2.
holy fuck, would you like to be a fly on the wall there where they basically proposed, switching protagonists and setting?
Yeah.
Not setting so much, but just could you imagine just being that fly on the wall and be like, what? No. Like, but
Free
guaranteed
money.
sequel was guaranteed sequel. You're not going to put a 2 on it? And
Yeah, no, I think this is I'm more excited because it's not.
I'm actually, yeah, I think, as and at first I wasn't disappointed at all. I was more just kind of like just in shock. But I think as the shock has worn off, I think I'm more okay with this. In fact, I think this
It's a
might end
better
up being
choice,
better.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
this might end up being better. I was never against it. I was never disappointed with it. I was just sort of like, I don't know what to feel. I'm just like amazed you're doing this. Now I'm like, you know what? This might be the better idea. I think this
They
might be the better. Like, yeah. What more do we need to say about Jin? Jin's done, I guess. I mean, there was always like, oh, maybe him and his uncle were going to get into like a huge feudal fight later on or whatever. But that's getting predictable.
I am gonna say this. They did a Kurosawa filter, black and white filter for the last
And
game.
then it transitioned
Yeah.
into color, and then they started playing the new music. So this is going from Kurosawa to Sergio Leone.
Yes. And that's I hope they have a Sergio Leone filter for this game. So
Sergio Leone.
yeah,
What,
you
like
know
just
that
a lot of really long random close-ups?
no 1960s celluloid.
Ooh.
Give me that look. Give me spaghetti western deep blues and weird skin tones and
You want a
you know
Leone filter?
yeah. Give me that.
Ser
Give me that.
Sergio filter.
I want that. On that note, we've got producers to thank. If you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Due to the week was, I'm sorry, I saw Chino Lotus. Thank you, Chino Lotus. Appreciate you. And our producers for this episode are Dragon Wolf Makoto, Austinite, Zybernite, Skronami, Kroy 35, Hyper Viper 89, Hockey Kong 64, LCL Mayhem, and Ziggy Z. Thank you, dudes. We'll catch you next time.
Later, dudes.